The City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item D on the agenda is approval of minutes from July 5th, 2022, regular council meeting minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. Hearing none, they stand approved. Item E, citizen communication. If there's anyone in the audience on WebEx that would like to address council on something that is not on the agenda, please do so by using the chat. Item F, reports from council committees. F1, the electric committee did not meet on July 11th due to lack of agenda items. F2, the water, sewer, refuse, recycling, and litter committee did not meet on July 11th, 2022 due to lack of agenda items. And F3, the municipal property, building, land use, and economic development committee did not meet on July 11th, 2022 due to lack of agenda items. Jump now to item H, introductions of new ordinances of resolutions. If H1 is resolution number 043-22, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to apply for and accept Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program and Local Transportation Improvement Program funds for projects deemed necessary by the city engineer in the year 2023 and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second.
Okay.
I'm going to turn it over to Chad.
Yes, Council, as you're aware, every year we make application for grant funding through PWC, more commonly known as Issue 2. I started the application. We need this legislation to allow us to make that application. At this time, we're looking at replacing the sanitary sewer on 3rd Street from Meekison to the paper street that's called Williams. It's actually up against the Lutheran home. And then since the primary cost of the project will be sanitary, I'm going to try to pave a few streets in that neighborhood as well. As long as the majority of the project is sanitary sewer, we will qualify for sanitary funds, which is less competitive than if we try to do a paving project. Right now, my estimate's around $70,000 or $700,000. We're going to request $325,000 in grant. That's our tentative plan at the moment, but first thing, we need the legislation. We don't need suspension, but there is an emergency. That's to allow us to meet the deadline. The application deadline is the second Friday of September. We'd be about 4 days short if we didn't have an emergency attached. So that's our plan this time.
Thank you, Chad. Have any other questions or comments regarding this? No? Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Okay, that will be moving on to second read. Item H2 is ordinance number 044-22, an ordinance amending ordinance number 053-21 regarding the compensation of certain City of Napoleon position classifications in and for the year 2022 and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Joel?
Thank you, Council President. As discussed in the Safety and Human Resources Committee meeting, the Chief O'Brien, who couldn't be here today, and neither could Assistant Chief Fry. But this was discussed at raising the pay rates for the part-time firefighters, and what we're doing now, what we're seeing is we're hiring, which is what you want. We're hiring our part-time, the good part-time firefighters full-time. And what's happening is, now we have to fill those voids, so, and it's becoming harder and harder to find these types of positions and get them filled, so. The thought was, increase the pay and, hopefully they will come. Right now, it's still, and it's competitive. So we are competitive compared to other departments that have part-timers, so, request today is first read for this ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments? All right, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, that will also move to second read. Item H3, ordinance number 045-22, an ordinance amending ordinance number 053-21 regarding composition and compensation of certain City of Napoleon position classifications in and for the year 2022, creating the non-bargaining position of municipal court bailiff, probation officer, and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Joel, you want this one too?
Yes, thank you. This was at the request of Judge Schuler, who was having trouble filling part-time positions of the part-time bailiff and part-time probation officer. This would combine those two positions for one full-time position, and it sets the pay rate at what you see here at $15.50 to $18.50. That can be set by her at anywhere in that range. Requesting first read.
I think, was she looking for suspension on this one?
Oh,
Fairly certain.
I didn't know.
Because they were in the middle of hiring already, so.
I believe she was, because she was under the impression with my discussion that she could hire Tuesday
Yeah.
following.
Oh, okay.
And if I could speak on this one, working out there, there's been a lot of turnover in those two part-time positions. And so, as it stands currently, there is no part-time bailiff and there is no part-time probation officer. So if one of them were to get COVID or some other issue, that shuts down entirely. Now, if it's the bailiff, that's a pretty big issue because the bailiff is in charge, obviously, of court security and other tasks at court. This is a pretty good idea, in my opinion, that you've always got a backup for both of those positions. And there was a question last time as to whether or not the part-time positions would be eliminated, and they are eliminated in this legislation. So that we're not just adding more and more people, we hire this full-time person, and then all of a sudden there are part-timers there and that as well. So if the judge would like to add part-time positions later on, she can certainly come and speak to council about that. We can go from there, but answering that question and just my 2 cents, I think this is a pretty good idea. So I would, I guess, I don't want to speak for the judge, but I would on her behalf ask for suspension because I'm quite certain that she needs this legislation passed this evening.
Thank you, Billy.
I'm going to do a rarity and move for suspension.
Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll on suspension.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Yes.
Ken?
You messed her up.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes. Okay, that has been passed on first read under suspension. Okay, moving on to item I, second readings and ordinances and resolutions. I-1 is ordinance number 037-22, an ordinance amending the City of Napoleon, Ohio Engineering Department rules and regulations, also amending previous Scrivener's errors and formatting issues and declaring an emergency. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Joel?
I have nothing new to report on this. I think it's been discussed quite the past few meetings, so if anybody has any questions, Chad and I are here to answer.
Okay, hearing none. Marissa, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
All right, that will move on to third reads. So item J, third readings of ordinances and resolutions. J1, ordinance number 034-22, an ordinance creating the non-bargaining position of Assistant Operations Superintendent for the city of Napoleon, Ohio on a temporary basis and declaring an emergency. Have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Anything new on this, Joel?
Nothing new.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Okay, that is passed on third read. Item J2, ordinance number 035-22, an ordinance amending a certain section of the City of Napoleon Personnel Code, specifically Section 197.06B, residency requirements.
Motion.
Second.
Okay,
Nothing new on this one.
all right. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
All right, that one is passed on third read as well. Moving on to item K, good of the city. K1, discussion or action, review approval of the power supply cost adjustment factor for July 2022, PSCA F3-month average factor 0.02519, and JV2 0.077139. Joel?
Thank you, Council President. Now it's time for the fun part. So it does, our power supply cost adjustment factor is up for this month. If you look at the usage months, we're in the billing month of July, and this is for usage of May, April, and March. As you recall, we kind of talked about this at the committee meetings and previous power supply cost adjustment factor approvals. What we saw basically from the beginning of the year into March and April, and that's when it started to get a little worse, was a pretty significant congestion issue at the Prairie State Energy Center. That's the coal plant in southern Illinois. There were some transmission lines that were down for scheduled maintenance, and then other transmission lines that went down. So it caused sort of a transmission fiasco, if you will. And it definitely caused us to have some significant congestion issues. Just to give you a couple of numbers. So now that this is the May billing month, as you can see, so this is the May bill that we get from AMP. And I'm gonna scroll down to the portion where it's to the Prairie State section. Sorry about that, hang on here. This PDF, it likes to jump from page to page, so. Alright. There we go, okay, Prairie State, right at the bottom, can you see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, if you just look at the bottom line number, we're at $192,000 of what's, we're paying into for power produced from this. In the previous 2 months, so March of 2022, which is factored in this, Prairie State was $243,000, and then in April was $271,000. So you can see that there's a significant difference from what we pay month over month on this one because of that, because of those issues. So now that that's back down to what would be a normal-ish level, I'm gonna scroll up to Fremont, which, as we discussed in previous meetings, is well that gas prices are up. So since this is a natural gas-fired power plant, you can see that this month we're at $281,000 because the price of gas is up. So just to kind of give you a reference point, March of 2022, this bill was at $202,000, and April's was $134,000, but that's because we had a scheduled outage for maintenance. So that's the reason for that one. But that just kind of shows the fluctuations that we've been seeing. Those are the main ones, the biggest, most significant jumps, and that's why we're seeing.
Can they schedule some more maintenance right now?
Well, you can't, because it throws off your overall average numbers into the next year's budget, so it really, and we schedule them in the shoulder months because that's when you need the least amount of power, so we do that with both Prairie State and AFAC. So, other than that, we're at about the, if you go, I'm gonna go back up here, we're about at the 13 cent per kilowatt hour range, which is about where First Energy used to be at, which is now up to the 14 or 15 cent per kilowatt hour range.
All right. Thank you for that explanation.
Are we seeing any softening on the stance for coal? Because I know over in Europe, they're starting to soften their stance on coal because of energy and Russia shutting them off and all those stuff. Have we seen anything here, or is it still just as anti-coal as?
I guess there's definitely cries out there, but if they're being heard, I don't know. There's definitely pressures to keep energy prices lower, but as in terms of actual action items, there really hasn't been anything. In fact, what was put in place up from last year into this year in terms of stance of fossil fuels and carbon emissions is actually still going. So what
That's what I was curious, whether that was continuing.
it's still going.
Okay.
And I'll tell you where it really affects everybody is not just the coal and AFAC, but it also affects this AMP-CT or peaking units. Because this is and you see we get a credit every month, pretty significant. And, most of the time it sits idle, but we have that capacity there if we need it. And so does the ETSI zone and PJM. So that's why we get credit for that, but that is also a gas plant, gas-fired, and it is over the threshold of 25 megawatts. So anything over 25 megawatts falls under a certain Title V EPA rule that where they've actually ramped up the amount of costs for, you have to pay to offset those carbon emissions. So they've actually ramped up those
Even
costs.
for the gas?
Even for gas.
Hmm.
So the short answer is no.
Okay.
All right, so we need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Oh, third.
Never mind.
And Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K2 is discussion or action to allow ODOT to work within the city limits to pave portions of State Route 110 East Maumee Avenue as part of their project.
I'll turn it over to Chad. This is
Yes, I believe it was last week I was notified by ODOT. They have a project on State Route 110 from 109 to the city limits. They plan to pave, however, they believe some of their work may get into our corporation limits. They asked us to prepare legislation to allow them to do that project. On a side note, I did ask them if they would consider extending that project to Perry Street. Otherwise, the city's going to be repaving East Maumee within the next couple of years due to poor condition. I don't have an answer on that, but in either case, ODOT requires legislation to be able to work within our corporation limits, and this would give them that permission.
Okay, thank you. We just need a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation.
I'll make
Motion.
it. Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
All right, item K3, discussion and action on change order number 1 to Gherkin Asphalt Paving Incorporated for the 2022 miscellaneous streets improvement project, an increase of $88,778.
I'll lead this one off if you don't mind. If you recall, our miscellaneous streets improvement project this year was Westmoreland, part of Woodlawn, a little bit of Glenwood, Bales Road, Hatch on Bale, and American Road. So we've got a variety of things, and what we talked about in Municipal Properties Committee meeting was to, since that project came in under budget, and we talked about what other streets can we do. We're about $100,000 under what we had budgeted for the miscellaneous streets project. But also, I believe we have other funding available too from another source.
Yes, we received, as part of the River Park Path project, after we awarded that project, I contacted ODOT and they were willing to cover the difference between the original grant and the bid amount we received, partially due to increase in cost. So that project actually received an additional $135,000 that we did not have in our budget for the year. So the $135,000 is sitting there and available, and since we had budgeted for the River Park Path, we can use that offset in the 400 account and pave some additional streets.
So we were asked to come back and get cost estimates for the 3 items that are on the agenda here, but bring them back to council one at a time for approval. And we got our estimates back for this first one at $88,778. And this would be change order 1 for Glenwood Avenue. And this would be from Woodlawn to the railroad tracks heading south. So basically, just past Bales Road.
Mhm.
My opinion is this is a bargain. I think this is a good deal for the stretch of road that we'd get paved out of this, and it's needed. So, recommendation is for approval.
Anybody have any questions or comments? All right, need a motion to approve, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K4, discussion and action on change order number 2 to Gherkin Asphalt Paving Incorporated for the 2022 miscellaneous street improvements project, an increase of $44,196.50.
Same thing. This is Lynn Avenue from Glenwood to where it dead ends on the eastern portion.
Does that really need done?
Well, Chad, maybe you can talk a little more about road reconstruction and repaving and what this would do.
Yeah, we prepared plans to rebuild that street and replace the utilities. My estimate was $1.25 million. We discussed it in committee. This is a Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that's probably going to get 10 to 15 years of life out of it. The utilities underground are not critical. We should consider them in the next 20, 30 years, but they're not critical. That street is top 5 in the city. A couple years ago, I believe we put 18 ton of spray patch on that street. I had my guys out there for 3 days. There isn't much street left, it's all spray patch. And since we were already paving Westmoreland and Woodlawn, potentially Glenwood, which now we are, and Lynn is there, this is the best time to do it, to save us on mobilization costs, as well as, surprisingly, the paving unit costs we got this year are reasonable. We'll see what next year is. But doing the neighborhood, I think, helps out our pricing.
Good. All right. Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
Any questions or comments on this one? All right, need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item K5, discussion and action on change order number 3 to Gherkin Asphalt Paving Incorporated for the 2022 miscellaneous streets improvement project, an increase of $31,472.50.
I can say this one was one that was budgeted.
We budgeted 25,000.
So, we did budget this, or the estimate right now, and mind you, out of the last 3, of this one including the previous 2, the final cost, as it says on here, is based on unit prices. So these are estimates based on the quantities that we've identified. So keep that in mind, that as they complete the project and they do the calculations with, and Chad can check them, and Aaron inspects them, and we go through that whole process. The final number might be a little different than what's on here, but this is the best estimate that we have right now. It was budgeted for $25,000 to pave this. This is the corner of Clinton and Monroe Street, and this would be the, I would deem it as the last unimproved section or corner of that 4 corners. So I think the church has done work over there. The Armory's obviously done a lot of work over there. And the Emporium is now established there. The senior center's moved out and got the Emporium. So, and then the streets have been redone, at least up in the downtown area. So, this is that last section that's, virtually unimproved. Oh, and the ministry center, new building is there. So, this is the last unimproved section of that 4 corners. And it's city money.
Right. Would be a nice improvement.
All right, any questions or comments regarding this one?
Just that this is all really great news, and thank you, Chad, for putting all these pieces together. I hope people hear it. A little extra paving going on.
Smoke.
I have just one related question. As far as the Westmoreland, when are we looking at doing that?
We had the pre-construction meeting with Gherkin Paving last week. Their tentative schedule is to start the first week of August and to be completed by August 15th. We had representatives from the school at the meeting. They informed us of their schedules. They start ramping up on the 17th with teacher work days and different things that week before school starts.
And there's a big
So-
football game out there on the 19th.
Yeah, so we're working with the school. Independence might not meet that timeline, but all Independence affects the school is the daycare pickup. So we will work around that and make sure that if school does start and we're not done paving, that they're able to pick the kids up at the daycare on Independence. The holdup on Independence is what we've seen on other jobs. We can't get caskets. On Independence, we're replacing most of the curb inlets, and they don't have a date when the casket's gonna show up. If we have to, we'll barrel them, plate them, whatever we need to do, to make sure we get some traffic and make sure we definitely have access to all the businesses and the daycare.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ralph.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. All right. Go around the table here, and we'll start with Joel today.
All right. Salt prices are in at $56.41 a ton. So that's a really good price, and we'll probably max out what we're allowed to purchase based on our allotted amount that we said we want to purchase. So
Right.
it's what, 700 tons?
700 ton.
And we just-
We can go 10%.
10% over, so 7 cents.
That's what he said for sure.
Okay.
The other item I've got, just related, is our peak so far this year was on June 15th at the 1,600 hours. And it was 30.8 megawatts. So that's really about average of where we've been the past couple of years. It's been 32 in 2018, over 32 megawatts, and over 31 megawatts in 2017. So we hover around that 30.6 to 30.8 right now. So it's, hopefully that's the new average, but I do see our load increasing overall because of the addition of Dana to the system. As they start ramping up, I think they're gonna be a much larger load than what they are now. So they're still ramping up, and they're still configuring the inside of their building. And then, just the various other businesses. So I think we're gonna see that increase over time, but just know that that's gonna be from, the addition of new businesses to town. It's a good thing when you grow your load, so. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Billy.
Nothing from me. I would ask that Chad be invited to the executive session for, assuming that council votes to go into executive session for pending or imminent litigation.
All right. Dr. Dave.
Nothing to report.
Ken?
The flower pots downtown, the new ones, everything looks good in there. They really look nice. And I had a question about, I don't remember what it was now. Oh, the power outage at the
Glenwood Estates.
Glenwood Estates. The second one in a short period of time. Is there a major difficulty there?
A lot of that is underground. So we're seeing a lot of shorts and a lot of the wire going bad underground. So there's gonna be some work being done over there.
Okay.
We'll see. So
All right.
all the residents in Glenwood Estates are gonna see some work. Right now, we're having a little bit of trouble finding a company that can, we don't have our own boring machine, so we have to contract that work out. So we'll be boring underneath some of the other utilities that run through there and reconnecting. I think we had a transformer go out too, so it's just some of the services that we provide there are just at that age where it needs replaced now.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, just one item. Safety and Human Resources will not meet next Monday. However, we will meet in August because we do have an item that was assigned to the committee back in June dealing with holiday issues for employees. And we will meet then the fourth Monday in August at our regular, I think it's 7:30 time that night. We're going to give our new human resource director a few weeks on the job before we pull her into this. So we're holding that off until August.
Oh, how nice of you.
That's all.
All right, thank you. The construction that's going on with the new gas station by the Taco Bell in the area, are they required to maintain that street where there's quite a few potholes there, like pretty deep? And it seems like they filled them prior to probably all this rain we got, so I think it made it worse. This weekend I went through there and It's pretty bad
Is
as
it
you're exiting.
On Wood Drive?
Yeah,
So it's not in another parking lot? Because I know
No.
that they had the catch basin go bad at the Taco Bell. And
Oh.
they had somebody, did they replace
Right.
that one yet?
I wasn't aware of an issue at Taco Bell.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
Well,
it's
they had
on
it
Wood,
barricaded and.
it's on Wood Drive. If
It's
you're
on Wood Drive,
turning-
though. Okay.
Turning
Yeah, where you're
right,
going to turn.
it's a pretty big hole there.
If they did fill it, it just pushed up and made the hump bigger and the hole deeper. So,
Yeah,
It's traffic control.
right,
it's working.
all right.
We'll get on it.
Thank you. Ross?
Just want to say, nice job on the Glow Golf outing. A lot of fun was had by all, I think, so thanks for putting that on. And hopefully the golf team had a nice little donation sent their way. That is all I had, thank you.
Okay. Lori?
Ditto. And Joe didn't say anything, so I thought I was gonna get to say it.
Yeah,
No,
I was
it
trying to
a
leave
lot
it
of
for you,
fun.
Lori.
Good job. You know.
I'll skip Ross next. Molly?
Nothing, thank you.
Hey, Kevin?
I too was able to attend the Glow Golf event. Joel, excellent job. I know you put a lot of work into that. It's just something that was great for the city of Napoleon to host, and any funds that they raised went to a good cause, so it was a good fundraiser for the golf team. I think a lot of people had a very good time. Judging by the deposits on Friday night, they were a very thirsty group, I could tell you that. But, you know, kudos. It was probably, over 11:30 midnight or something like that. So,
Yeah.
and I did not realize how dark that golf course gets.
Yeah.
The cloud cover certainly didn't help, but
No,
it
it
was, you get down back in there, it's very dark. So
No light.
that's all I have.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Have to carry a torch around to find your.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session for pending or imminent litigation and personnel, collective bargaining.
I'll motion.
Second.
Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes?
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly? Yes. Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Could I have a motion to come out of executive session for pending or imminent litigation and personnel collective bargaining?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly? Yes. Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Okay, no action taken there. Item M, approve payments of bills and financial reports. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills and financial reports shall stand approved. Hearing none, they stand approved. And motion for adjournment.
So, second.
Please call the roll.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dr. Dave?
Yes.
Molly? Yes. Lori?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
We are adjourned.